This is Switzer Network News. Songbirds comprise a large amount of biodiversity in any ecosystem and in any habitat. They are also important indicators of changes to that habitat. But many songbird species migrate hundreds or thousands of miles, creating a challenge for scientists who are eager to learn more about these extraordinary creatures.
So here at the Palomarin Field Station, we've been studying songbirds since 1966 and studying all sorts of facets of their lives and the mechanisms behind their patterns. But we've only just now had access to a tool that can help us figure out where the birds that we're studying are going when they migrate. So you can imagine how exciting it is for us to finally be able to figure this out for some of the species that we've been studying now for close to 50 years. For a lot of species, the tags that are used also might be affixed in the form of a backpack, or they might be affixed to the leg band of a bird, or into the flesh of a shark or a large tuna or something like that. But they've been gigantic tags. I mean, the tags themselves weigh more than any of these birds that we're studying.
But now there is a new technology available that is small enough to be placed on the songbirds. It's called a geolocator tag.
And you can see that it's very small. It doesn't weigh very much. It weighs less than a gram. Here's a penny for comparison. And the device is actually a passive way to figure out where birds go. We catch birds that we're interested in putting the geolocator tags often through the mist netting process that we're already doing at our study sites. And as well as putting the federal bird band on their leg, we also add this geolocator tag, and it fits on their back kind of like a backpack with a harness. And once we've released the bird, we're actually not getting any information on where the bird is going. So with satellite tags and with radio transmitters, the researchers get information while it's on the bird in the wild of where the bird is. That's not the case here. It's basically passively collecting daylight and sunlight information for every day that it's out there with the tag on it. And we need to recapture the bird after it's gone through its annual cycle of 2 migrations. And that's the tricky part is recapturing the birds. But luckily for us, both breeding and winter birds tend to be site faithful. So they return to our same study areas after they've done migration, if they've survived their migration. And we catch the bird again. We remove the tag from the bird, and then we download the tag onto a computer. When we download the data, we actually don't see where the birds go. It would be fantastic if that were the case, but instead we get a lot of numbers that we then have to translate with extremely complicated coding to figuring out the transition between darkness and light. And then from that, we extrapolate latitude and longitude and have to manually map that out.
And Diana tells me that from the data, they're learning whether or not all of the birds from a given area are migrating to the same region each year.
And if they are, then that region is obviously quite valuable from a conservation perspective. If you're trying to save a bird here, we want to have that information. It's telling us on the flip side whether birds are going to a lot of disparate locations. It's telling us how long it takes them to get there and what route they take to get there. And the stopover locations where birds actually stop to forage while they are migrating en route are also really key to a bird's annual life cycle and to their survival. Right now, what we're doing with this information is just getting a sense of where these birds migrate to, and that's going to be a really critical piece of information to have when we take the next step, which is figuring out how their ranges are going to change with climate change. And so for a lot of species, researchers have begun predicting how the habitats are going to expand or constrict and what the effects that's going to be on the occurrence of birds in those regions. And so if we learn, for example, that the majority of our population are going to one given region and that's not predicted to have the right habitat type in the future for that species, that tells us that there might be some conservation concern for that species in that region in the future, and we can figure out what steps might need to be taken then.
Switzer Fellows are doing innovative and inspiring work. If you'd like to learn more, visit switzernetwork.org and then click on the News tab. I'm Jerry Kay.